I mean, I grew up on Pixar and then I grew up at Pixar because I so much of my career there, and so much of what I learned was from those filmmakers and those artists. And so to hear that is probably the highest compliment because I have such a high regard and reverence for that studio and the films that they made.
Where did the idea for this come from? Where did it all start?
Yeah, well, it started when I left Pixar and I started Cuckoo Studios. I mean, I left because I wanted to. There was two reasons. I was really excited about what was happening with Netflix and sort of streaming at the time. I mean, I watched House of Cards and it kind of like just blew me away. I was like, how could a DVD mailing company make a show that was good? And then I was, the first half of my career at Pixar, I was working on such great films, and then, Ratatouille and Wall-E. And then the second half of my career, I was still working on good films, but there were a lot of sequels, and I really love original stories because I think they're just so, I don't know, they're just so fresh, and I want to meet new characters and I want to be in new worlds. And so I felt like Netflix was there was a potential to be able to do that with the streaming revolution. And so that's why I left. Um, and so I spent the first year just sort of, brainstorming ideas with my co-founders and a movie that took place in the world of dreams was one of those big ideas that we felt like this is one of those things that's like a universal human experience. Everybody dreams across cultures, across time. Nobody knows why we dream, which makes it great material for fiction and mythology and storytelling. Um, and I just couldn't believe that nobody had done it yet, you know? And once I got into the development process, I realized, oh, this is why, because it's really hard to give a dream movie stakes. And um, so we had to find a way to sort of give the dream world stakes and like emotional resonance. And for that, I sort of reached into my own sort of past and drew from my own life. And when I was young, like my parents nearly split up, and it was really hard for me as a kid. It was hard for both me and my brother. And this movie is sort of an exploration of you know, what it means to be imperfect, what it means to be an imperfect family, what it means to be an imperfect person and to live in an imperfect world. Um, and so that combination of like, trying like what dreams mean, both in the literal sense of what we dream at night and the metaphorical sense of what we aspire to, sort of fit perfectly into that personal story of like a kid dreaming of the perfect family, trying to keep their family together. And so it's that combination of those two things, this big fantastical dream world, and this really intimate human story of a kid just, um, trying to hold their family together that sort of birthed this film.
How do you strike that balance, making sure that it doesn't go too heavy, but again, kind of has that appeal where that children, but also adults watching it can appreciate the film?
Well, I'm so glad you think it appeals to both kids and adults because that's very much what we tried to do. Um, I mean, I think I knew that the film had to have a lot of entertainment value because it is a sensitive subject matter and it's a challenging subject matter, and we do deal with some heavy emotions in it. And so you got to balance that out with some levity, right? It's almost like you're trying to Trojan horse like the emotion into the audience's heart, right? It's like you make them laugh and then you make them cry, right? So that I think balancing it out is just really appealing to the things that I want to see as a moviegoer, right? Like you said, some of those early Pixar films, they made us laugh, they made us cry, and that's what I love when I go to the movies, when I watch films. I just love having all these different emotions that I can experience in one package. And so that's what I tried to do. And I also love the medium of animation so much. It's such a versatile medium. You can do so much tonally that you can't do in live action. Like, can you imagine trying to do a Breakfast Town in live action? Like, it would just be so weird and off-putting. But in animation, you can pull that off. You can do like a re weird, silly Adventure Time world, and characters, and pair it with, these really subtle, nuanced, uh, real deep emotions that these characters are going through. And so I just wanted to take advantage of all the possibilities that animation offered and put them all into this one film.
Between your film and K-pop Demon Hunters, I mean, Netflix is like putting all these studios to shame.
Yeah, I think, Netflix animation is kicking butt. They are really, and so much credit goes to the team at Netflix Animation. Melissa Cobb's not there anymore, but she was the one who greenlit this film. Greg Taylor was also, he ended up producing on our film, but he was one of the executives that greenlit it. They also were the team that greenlit K-pop Demon Hunters. And then Dan and Hannah have sort of like, they've championed both of these films, and I think they recognize, what gems they had. And so it's not easy. I think it takes a lot for these executives to have good taste and to know what to support and to know what to champion. So I just credit the whole team. I mean, Dan and Hannah have been so supportive, like since they've gotten there. And yeah, we're just, we're hoping to ride off the success that K-pop has had in the world. It's going to be a hard act to follow, but yeah.
I know that soundtracks are usually very difficult in live action films to kind of get rights and things of that. How the heck did you pull this off? How did you get so many great,
Yeah.
songs in this film?
Well, I mean, obviously, a movie about dreams, there's so many options because there's so many songs about
What
dreams.
dreams?
So it was sort of paralysis by option, paralysis because we had too many options, right? But we had a great music supervisor. Chris Duradas was our music supervisor, and he just has great relationships with a lot of the labels and a lot of the artists, and he was such a champion for the movie. And so I knew, the big asks were obviously Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. Um, and that was one of the first songs we went after. And Chris pitched it to Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart, the project, and I think they were excited about it, so they gave us the rights. Then the next was the Mr. Sandman song by the Chordettes. And because it's such an old song, I think that was relatively easier to get. Um, and then Metallica's Enter Sandman was like the other big one, and we were like, we're never gonna get that. It's way too expensive. Metallica's so picky when it comes to licensing their music. But somehow, I think, I don't know what conversations Chris had with that team, but I think he pitched them the movie, and I think they were probably really compelled by the story and how sort of deep and emotional and meaningful it was, and how fun it was that they bought into it, and so they gave us the rights. So, yeah, we got super lucky. I think the needle drops on this in this movie are pretty stellar. Even Don't Ya, like that doll. It's just so funny. And we're so lucky that they let us parody it, in the
The
Nightmare.
Chuck E. Cheese, the Polly's Pizzeria scene, yes.
So, I mean, I'm just so grateful. And then obviously opening the movie with Outkast Hey Ya was just like a dream. I mean, that song is just so kick-ass. And yeah, so we got super lucky.
I mean that whole thing with Chuck E. Cheese in there, I thought that was brilliant. It's just like pizza,
Yeah.
pizza.
You know who that is? It's actually my assistant. We just needed somebody we were trying this idea of like dropping out the lyric and then putting in pizza. And so I just, my assistant has been doing a lot of scratch for us. She's a great actress actually. So she put it in and it just killed us in the edit room. We were like rolling on the floor with laughter. We were just dying. And we tried our loop group team to replace it, but it wasn't as funny. So we just used hers. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. I really love that needle drop.
I couldn't help but notice a lot of nods to Disney films, obviously in the film, and then of course Small World being in the dream sequence with the pizza.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it as a kid. Obviously, it was a little kind of scary to me sometimes, which is why I thought it'd be fun to make it turn into a nightmare. Um, yeah, animatronics in general are just like they're cool and magical, but also kind of creepy. So that's why we did it with the Polly's Chuck E. Cheese reference, but then also in Small World, there's tons of animatronics in that ride. So yeah, and I grew up on Disney. I'm a Disney kid, and those are the movies that inspired me to get into animation. Obviously, Pixar is a Disney company. So yeah, I tried my best to pay homage to the legacy that Disney animation has created and sort of had influenced me as a filmmaker and as an artist.
Was that also the reason for the bed from Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
Yep. That was a combination of an homage to Winsor McCay, who's like the grandfather or the father of animation. I mean, everybody knows Walt Disney, but really Winsor McCay was the one who invented animation, right? With Gertie the dinosaur. And his comic Little Nemo in Slumberland was
Yeah.
just so inventive and so creative and imaginative. And so that bed did not fly. That bed had like really long legs. Um, but I just thought it's such a great idea to have a bed be your vehicle and his bed wasn't really a character. It was more just like a vehicle. So I wanted to turn our bed into a character. And then Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, like the flying bed was an homage to that. So yeah.
Yeah.
These are all the references, the things that I grew up watching, and I wanted to find a way to put them in this film.
Okay, and then I have to ask then the anime kind of style of the film in a few scenes. What was the inspiration behind that?
So I grew up half my life in the US and half my childhood in Hong Kong in Asia. And so I was exposed to a lot of anime as a kid, more so than a lot of my peers because they just didn't have access. It's not like today where the internet is pervasive and Netflix, you have so much anime on there and you have Crunchyroll. But back then, like you couldn't get anime unless you went to, Blockbuster and you knew what to look for. But in Hong Kong, they were playing Dragon Ball, they're playing Sailor Moon all the time. And so I loved those shows as a kid, and especially the comics. And so, I didn't tell anybody I was a big Sailor Moon fan because it was like a girl's cartoon, but I loved it. And so this was my sort of homage to those shows.
I love it. I love that's what I love the most about animated films is when I see sequences where they add in different types of animation. I don't know if you've seen this recent season of Wednesday, but in the first episode they do like a whole little homage to like old school Tim Burton where they have stop motion in
Oh,
it, and I was just like, whoa, like this is like the stuff that I'm dying for. Like this is a throwback to the hardcore fans.
oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I just love the medium of animation so much, and it can do so many things. And so we didn't get to work in any stop motion into this film. I was like, I really wanted to, but I think we just couldn't, we couldn't afford to do it. But I'm so glad that we were able to work in anime into it. So.
So on your next film, are you looking to do another family related one? Or I know some of the animators, I've heard this rumor, I don't know if it's true, are some of the dirtiest people in the business. Are you want to do an adult version of some kind of movie, an animated movie?
I don't think so. I mean, my next film, I have a script ready, and it's actually it was written by with Michael McCullers, who wrote
Okay.
second and third Austin Powers movies. He's super funny. Um, but it's a family film. All of the films that we've made at Cuckoo Studios have been sort of family oriented. Like Go-Go Corey Carson was like a preschool show for kids. It was really, we tried to make a Pixar preschool show. That's what we tried to do with Go-Go Corey Carson. But I just love the family film space. I also love like mature stuff. I mean, some of my favorite movies are like, I love Rain Man, and it's not really a family movie, but that really inspired like the sibling relationship in that film really inspired the sibling relationship in Your Dreams. Amadeus is like one of my favorite films, and actually the editor who cut the director's cut of Amadeus was our editor, if you can believe that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tom Christopher. So
Wow.
he actually works in the same building as us. We our office is in the Saul Zaentz Media Center in Berkeley. And Saul Zaentz obviously produced Amadeus and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all these incredible films. And I love his films. And Tom Christopher just happens to have an editorial office there. And so we became friends. And I asked him if he'd want to work first on the Go-Go Corey Carson show. And then we had such a great relationship that I asked him to work on this show. So, but yeah, I think there's something about like I love when films can bring families together. Um, and some of my favorite films like Back to the Future is like a family film, and all the Pixar films are family films. And I think it's really hard actually to tell a story, to make a film that appeals to every single age group and every single, demographic, because that just means like you have to take into account so many different tastes and perspectives. And to do it well is like incredibly hard. So I think it's one of the most difficult categories of stories to tell. And so I like that challenge.
No, I would have to agree with you. I think it's really a lost art form in live action that films are able to do that, right? I
No.
mean, even, I'm going to use this as an example, like How You Train Your Dragon started as animated,
Yeah.
right? And it worked so well that they turned it into live action. But I
Yeah.
don't think it would have been the other way around. I don't think they would ever have tried it as a live action first and then went to animated.
100%, 100%. And I grew up in the 80s and,
Me too.
you
That's
know,
the best time to grow up. I mean,
I
those are all the
know.
great best Uncle Buck, Back to the Future. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the types of movies I want to make and I want to see. And so, um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't shy away if I had an idea for a movie or a show that was a little more mature, I wouldn't shy away from it. But I think my taste is just, I like films that appeal to really broad audiences.
I think that's what's missing from a lot of the award space too.
Yeah. Everything's
Is
so
that
like,
there's just I watch so many films and I just go to myself like, who are these movies for? Like, I'm like, who are these for? Like, who's gonna watch this? Like, what movie am I gonna recommend to my mom or my dad or my brother? Like, who am I recommending? Like, nobody. Like, that's just the reality of it. But
I
you're
know.
100% right, and I think you hit on something with this film that makes it just like I said, it's so magical because it manages to kind of fill that large enough gap of hitting both adults and children that they're going to watch this and their parents are not going to be like, oh, turn that off. They're going to actually sit down and they're going to have some laughs and they're going to go along for the ride.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think it's like a Nora, like I thought it was a great film, won Best Picture last year, but I'm like, I can't watch that with my parents. Like it's too awkward, you know? It's-
Thank you so much for doing this, Alex.
Thanks. And yeah, again, kudos to your collection. I mean, I'm so jealous. It's so cool.
Amazing. Hopefully I'll get to see you sometime when you're back in town.
Yeah, I would love that, Scott. All
All
right.
right, you take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.